Gotta say, after having done, how many podcasts did we do on Shadows of the Empire? We did Cosmic Force, Legends Look Back, and then Freddie and I guested on Game Night to kind of help talk Andrew through the behind the scenes and all of that. Plus, I wrote the 2 reading guides about who we got there, the Lizard Man, Shizor, and Dash Rendar. After all of that, like, my number one takeaway after that week was like, I'm not going to do any more Shadows of the Empire for like the rest of the month. I was just so excited to give myself a break. But, Freddie, if you know anything about me, it's that I'm a completionist.
Yeah.
And so I cannot tell you how many hours I have spent with this freaking game trying to beat it. And I got to say, I beat IG-88 live while Andrew was playing. I beat it on my N64. But then I've been on Gaul, that next level. You remember Gaul?
Yes, of course.
I've been on Gaul since, that night?
Oh my
That was, 2 weeks ago? Exactly 2 weeks ago. I have been stuck on Gaul, and I've played nearly every day. And I was gone. I was out of town for a week, so I've played like at least 8 times.
That's amazing.
And have been murdered by Boba Fett at least a dozen times. Which, like, that's right. You kind of want Dash Rendar to murder Boba Fett a few times. Like, just kind of feels like he's got to pay his dues, right?
Of course.
Oh, man. But that was a lot of fun, wasn't it? What are your closing thoughts on our Shadows of the Empire event? We've never done anything like it.
No, we've never done anything like it. I enjoyed it. It made me not only just have some great nostalgia for something that I remember coming out when I was a kid and talking about it till exhaustion. It was it was great.
It makes me glad. One of our initial ideas was like we could make it the summer of Shadows of the Empire, do it all summer long.
Oh.
And kind of glad we crammed it into a week, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. The only thing we have to release is the the Shizor workout plan. Aren't we filming that one?
No. We're going to release branded Shizor bath bombs.
No.
When you drop
I draw the line there.
He loves to take baths. Isn't there? No, Emma, you read the comic. Isn't there a panel where Shizor is just like in the bathtub chilling?
Yes, shirtless, of course, and
watching a Leia hologram.
Yes, watching something inappropriate.
So
well, let us know, listeners, if you've got any tips on how to beat Boba Fett on Gaul. I would love to know them, and I'll keep you updated in the Discord and all that with how I'm doing in the progress. I am thinking about switching to PC. It feels one of the fun things about all this is I've gotten some really good quality time with my N64. I'm thinking about busting out like Ocarina of Time, something like that. I don't want to put that 3-pronged controller down at this point. It feels like we've gotten to know each other again. But I'm thinking about switching to the PC. I gotta admit, it looked a whole lot cleaner when Andrew was playing it, or maybe he's just.
I think he finished it in like 1.5 days.
Did he end up finishing it?
I'm not entirely sure. I just know he was pretty
him.
far along in just like the hour he was on.
Yeah, he definitely got farther in 2 hours than I had gotten in a week, which was fun. Loved that. I knew it was going to happen, but like watching it happen before my eyes was especially fun. Well, that was a lot of fun. Let us know, everybody. I know we've still got a few people who are reading Shadows of the Empire and getting caught up on all that. We would love to talk about all of it with you. Shizor and anything that's not Shizor, especially. We'd love to talk about that. But you know what else we're going to talk about? Another amazing, crazy Legends character tonight. So without further ado, let's kick it off.
From a galaxy far, far away.
And a bookshelf straight out of the 90s. From Thrawn to Dantooine and everything in between, this is Legends Look Back.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Legends Look Back, proudly part of the Utini Podcast Network, a Star Wars podcast for people who don't always jam, but when they do, they dark jam, where we talk about all things Legends, celebrating our rich EU history, as well as diving into lesser-known Star Wars classics. I'm your host, Jared Mays, and I'm joined by my cyborg co-host, Freddie C. Honestly, forgot I wrote that intro. How are you, Freddie?
Hello, my name is Freddie. What is your favorite spice? Let me know in the comments below. Mine is Jacob.
Yes, the spice den. I love that. Love that. You really went for the whole cyborg bit there. It kind of caught me off guard. I was like, is that Freddy under there? Is he actually here? Or is that a robot? You know who's not a robot? Filling in as our producer this week, the collection enabler extraordinaire of UTN, Emma Park.
Hello, it is I, Emma Park, not C-3PO, and not any other purple-hued character. Thanos. That's not Star Wars, but you know what? It works.
He is purple, and he is a character.
Very purple. Very purple.
Well-
I'm glad to be joining you guys tonight. I feel like this is very on brand for me to be showing up on another comic-centric episode, so
That's
it's
true.
all good.
It is. Yeah, it is. It is. What's fun, Emma, is you went from 0 appearances on Legends Look Back after our 2-year history to 3 within 6 weeks.
Yeah,
So-
that's wild.
Way to go there. Way to go there. Actually, one of the fun things, got a chance to meet Emma in person, which was weird because I've been on the team for 2 years working with, I talked to Freddie every week for 2 years. I've talked to Freddie but I've never met him in person. And actually got a chance to meet Emma in person. She's taller than she looks on my phone when I watch The Cosmic Force, which was strange. But, you know, it's not strange. The amazing collectibles we picked up at the comic book store in Maine. Emma, what did you end up picking up? You got anything fun to show off?
Oh, heck yes, I do. And allow me to grab them.
I've honestly forgotten what you bought. I was so focused on what I was buying and not making a fool out of myself and meeting you for the first time in person.
All right, so here we go. Yeah, no, we had a ton of fun, of course. I mean, Jared and I, we can get into like a ton of mischief at any sort of store that has Star Wars things. So, of course,
That's
we
right.
found some things. I got this Episode 1 Padme Amidala figure. I'm trying to figure out how best to do this here. I love Padme. I don't have enough Padme things in my collection, so I was like, let's add one more. And then one more thing.
That's awesome.
I've
I
got
like
the
that.
Sabe. That's the only
Comtech.
one I've got, I think.
An Episode 2 Zam Wessel. And I have 0 Zam Wessel things in my
That is cool.
collection, which was quite a shame. So, yeah, I found some two really awesome figures.
Emma, if you shoot that Zam Wessel action figure with a Camino saber dart, does she change into a slug?
You know, I haven't tried it, but my answer will be yes. I think she does.
Okay, good answer. Good answer.
You
Like
know,
Steve Harvey.
speaking of Sam Wessel, I have a very funny story. I'll make it short.
All right.
I remember, someone was telling me, like, who is your most favorite, or like, who do you have a crush on in Star Wars?
No way.
And
Did you say Zam
I
Wessel?
did, and so when they searched it, they were like, and I was like, no, it's a changeling, I swear.
Hey, whatever floats your boat, man. I'm not here to judge.
That's hilarious.
So good.
I love that. But yeah, Jared and I, we had a blast. It was so weird meeting someone from UTN in person. Jared was the first person from UTN I've met in person, and it's super weird because at first it's like meeting a stranger, kind of. You've never met them in person.
it is. But it's
And then
I
like
talk
2
to you every
seconds
day.
later, it's like, oh, this is the person I've known on the internet for like years and years. So it was
Yeah.
interesting.
It is
Yeah.
weird. It is weird. I look forward to meeting more of the team members. But we had a lot of fun. I feel bad for the comic book store owner who had to listen to us absolutely just go nuts on. Like I told my brother-in-law who's 14. He went with us. I told him like the full history of Valance, the bounty hunter, which we're doing on tonight's show. And I feel bad for that comic book store owner who like is just like, please buy my stuff and get out of here.
Get out of here,
I got-
nerd.
Speaking of Valance, I ended up picking up. There's a hair on it. That's not good. All right, we got the first appearance of Valance in Marvel's Star Wars number 16.
That's such a cool
what's
cover.
especially fun, see if I can get it closer. Look at this floating Jackson head. Oh, yeah, look at that bad boy. That's
Looks
just
like
the
a
best
ghost.
thing that ever happened to a Star Wars comics cover. This may be my very favorite original Star Wars cover. But then I also picked up another good Legends character, especially for her life later on in the Legacy of the Force series. This is number 96, featuring this full spread of Lumaya, Luke's girlfriend turned ex-girlfriend turned attempted murderer turned seducer of his nephew to the dark side. It's a whole thing. It's a very but there's this 2-page spread. Look at this thing. It's wordless. A full 2-page spread of Luke battling with Lumaya in her light whip.
That's amazing.
Oh, she has a light
was
whip. Very cool.
Astounded by how cool this is. Yeah.
Yeah, this is
So
one of those
very,
Legends
very
things that is like if it's a how do I describe this? There's like a top 10 in creativity. This is definitely one of them.
It is. Oh, man. And they brought it back, of course, in Canon. Vernestra Rowe. Try saying that 5 times fast. Vernestra Rowe. She has her own light whip, which is fun. So they've... whips are making a comeback, I hear. You know what else is making a comeback? Freddie. Freddie, what did you end up picking up between our last episode and now? You've had an extra week. We were off last week.
Yeah, there's a lot. I posted one of them.
I know you got something cool.
I mean, I've got this for sure right here. Look at this.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. How did I forget?
Yeah, the Essential Legends Collection. I've got Heir to the Empire again, Path of Destruction again, and then, of course, Shatterpoint, which I don't have, actually, the Legends book of Shatterpoint.
Oh, wow. You know, unpopular opinion, or maybe unpopular opinion, I'm interested to hear your guys' thoughts on this, but I freaking love this book size.
No, I do too.
What about you
me
guys?
too. Yeah. I just love how it feels in your hand. And I know that there's like a millimeter of the cover that's...
Don't even get me started, Freddie.
But it's perfect because when you're flipping through the pages, you don't really hit the cover as hard as you do the other pages. So it'll never
That's true.
bend as
I'm
much.
hoping they rectify it in future printings, but I'm glad you can see the silver lining. The good news about what he's talking about is this just a little gap, just this tiny gap that exists between the cover and then the pages. Doesn't quite line up. It's bugging me as like an OCD thing, but the thing about it, Freddie, is that for the most part, these are going to sit on my shelves this way. So it's never going to be a problem.
Oh, you don't
As a
put 'em this way?
readability thing, though, upside down, yeah. Freddie's always got his stuff upside down. The thing, you're making a great point, Emma. These are, I think, my very favorite format to actually hold and read a book in.
Yeah.
I've got this, The Lost Tribe of the Sith, English, the U.S. English version, was in this format, and hot dang, if that wasn't my favorite just reading a Star Wars book experience. I remember getting to the theater for The Force Awakens in 2015, hours and hours and hours early to get a good seat, and when I did, I brought it with me. So I've got like these pictures of me like frantically reading Lost Tribe of the Sith and like at the
that's
same
awesome.
time.
I know
just
it's such a
getting
good
ready for
format
The Force
because
Awakens.
I mean, similar to a hardcover, you know, they're pretty wide, but you know, hardcovers aren't flexible, and it's nice to have the flexible, you know, book cover. So, and I see Freddie flexing with his new hat.
Before we get to
Tell
that,
us
before the
about-
hat, let me show you
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. Freddie, be careful, Emma. You've been warned. With
Okay.
these, be careful with the flexing of it because I wore a crease.
Oh, I
in
see that.
Lost Tribe of the Sith from where I stuck my finger when I was reading it. So
Oh,
I'm
good to
curious
know.
to see if these are gonna wear in that exact same way. I know
That's
this
good
is
to
like
know.
crazy in the weeds Legends reading stuff at this point, so we will move on to Freddie's $85 hat. But I do want to warn you that
That's good to know. I'm gonna be careful about that. But yeah, there's pros and cons for sure. And for collectors, you know, it drove some people crazy, I'm sure, because you know, size differences and things like that. But you know,
size matters not, Emma. All right, Freddie, what's your
Sure.
hat? Show us the hat.
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys remember, but in the chat, someone was like, "Hey, there's a hat, blah blah blah," and I think Jared asked me a question, and I totally was just like, you know what? I'm not listening right now. I'm trying to buy a hat. Well, I got it.
He got the hat, everybody. I'm so
Nintendo
jealous.
64 reversed to
Oh,
Shadows of the Empire.
wow.
that is so rad, man. That is the coolest Star Wars hat ever made, and you can quote me on
It
that.
is. It is.
We
I'm
need
so
more
glad
Star
I
Wars
got it.
hats, I think.
I know I'm a big fan of Star
Absolutely.
Wars hats. I've got a Clippers Star Wars hat. I've got a bucket full of Star Wars hats right next to me.
That's cool. I don't have. I've got a bunch of Star Wars beanies because I live in Massachusetts, and you need the beanie at least like 8 months out of the year. Emma knows what I'm talking about. As a
Oh, it's
Mainer.
true.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But Freddie
Maina.
in California, we just see the breeze out your window, Freddie. That's
Freddie
so
has no
cool,
idea
man.
what it's like.
The Clippers Death Star hat for those who are listening.
Oh, and
on
it says
audio.
It has a Rogue One logo on the side.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Check that out.
That is
Pretty awesome.
if I didn't hate the Clippers, but I do.
Same.
No. Oh my gosh. Well,
Oh goodness.
we've got some fun things to show off, but you know, with the Essential Legends collections, we're showing off the ones that were just released. We've got our hands on. We're currently reading through Shatterpoint. We're going to be doing our roundtable on that a couple weeks from now. Looking forward to it. Man, have I got an extensive list of notes, such as what the heck is going on with Depa Billaba? And also, is Carvhaster the scariest villain in all of Star Wars? All right, so we're going to have a fun time with this. I can't wait. But we've got more Legends Essential. I always mess up the titles of these dang things. Let's try again. More essential Legends collections news, and that is more covers were revealed today. Today! What a great time to have a Legends podcast on a Thursday night when there's Legends news on Thursday morning. Thank you to Del Rey for dropping that news on us. I believe we've got the covers for these queued up, don't we?
Right here.
Okay, so Freddie, tell us what we're looking at here. We've got 4 this time instead of 3.
Yeah, so we've got 4 this time, and let's see. I've got the first one here, which is Rule of 2, and the cover art is pretty interesting. I haven't looked too deeply into it yet, but it's got yeah.
Oh, look at
I don't know
that
if you wanna...
close-up.
Yeah,
Gorgeous.
Oh, man, that's
Does
great.
Xana
Look at
have
that.
dreads?
It looks like it, sort of.
Stick some peanut butter in those things.
Doesn't that just look so, like, menacing, the overexposure?
Oh, I hadn't thought about it that way. That is cool. I like the way that this kind of synergizes with the artwork they did for the first, for Path of Destruction. I'm looking forward to, Tom said, like, wait till you see Volume 3. Wait till you see Dynasty of Evil. So I'm looking forward to this. Of course, Darth Bane Rule of 2 has infamously one of the most unfortunate covers out of all of Legends. The legend has it that it was rushed into production. Karpyshyn wrote the book in less than a year, which is like, hey, good on him. Yeah. I read it in less than 48 hours, so good on me. But also good on this artist, Simon Goignard. Is that right? I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. But Simon, way to go. We like these. Good job.
Yes.
This is excellent.
Yes.
It's excellent. Freddie, what do you think Volume 3 should look like? Like this one, obviously, it's easy to think. Like Rule of 2 is going to have Xana. But what's Volume 3 going to look like?
Maybe like a Play-Doh sculpture?
It's just going to look like the cover of Ruins of Dantooine. They're just going to recreate it in like
They're
a PS1.
just going to take it from Star Wars Galaxies.
Beautiful. I would buy it. You know I would buy it. I would buy it. All right. Next up, we've got not Volume 3 in this trilogy, but instead, we did, however, get both artworks released for the rest of the Thrawn trilogy. We've got both Dark Force Rising and The Last Command. Here we've got Dark Force Rising. If you're listening on audio, we'll drop the links for these in the Discord as well if you want to be able to see them. Dark Force Rising is half a Stormtrooper helmet and then Han and Leia looking like they're about to shoot down some no-grease. In particular,
I like the color scheme here. It kind of looks like they're on fire.
Yeah.
On fire with Vader's rage. No, who's the bad guy? Thrawn's rage. Now, I've got a criticism. I don't know if it's a criticism as much as it's an observation, all right? This is the 2016 cover. You remember these, Freddies? These were the ones that they released with 275% more Thrawn than the original Thrawn trilogy covers.
Yeah, of course.
This one has Han and Leia posing in nearly the exact same pose with their blasters.
Oh, yeah. Check that
And
out.
Oh,
it
whoa,
makes
that's
me
cool.
wonder, did they just copy-paste this? They didn't. It is unique. It is unique, but, like, extremely similar to what they did a few years ago.
Don't you love Leia's stance in this one? She's just so combative, ready to go. She's ready to blast some troopers or some no-grease.
She's like
anything.
She's like
That's
Canon Comics Leia. She's ready to punch anyone who gets in her way.
I love it.
That's right. And she is written extremely well in the Thrawn trilogy, so glad to see her
She is.
represented on the covers. I, of course, have been collecting all of the Thrawn trilogy printings and covers there have ever been. I've got a whole Thrawn shelf sitting. Oh, don't you fall off, Sabayoth. Keep your shirtless self over there. I've made a shrine to the Thrawn trilogy, so these are going to go right there, and I'm so excited about that. Let's show off The Last Command. They went ahead and gave us both covers here. This one's got Luke looking like exactly how I'm looking at these covers when they were released. I was like, oh yeah, give them to me. But then Mara Jade. Now, Freddie, did you see the stink that was the internet controversy today about this Mara Jade image on The Last Command?
I didn't see that. What are people saying?
What color's her lightsaber? I'm colorblind, so you tell me. What color's her lightsaber here?
Gray. Colorblind too.
Does
that look green?
It's green.
Yeah.
It's green. Now, infamously, I said that twice in this episode, these are very famous books. All right, she uses what lightsaber most of the time as a Jedi? Do you remember?
Oh, man, that is green. Oh, my goodness. I don't remember. What did she use?
She typically wields Luke's original lightsaber.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Obi-Wan's.
That's right.
The lightsaber that Obi-Wan gives to Anakin. No. Here we go. The one that Anakin, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Luke's lightsaber from A New Hope.
Of
that he
course,
loses in The Empire Strikes Back. Cut off
blue.
with the hand. Then he's cloned, Luuk, right? Of course, spoiler alert for The Last Command. Luuk has the blue, and then, of course, Luke gives it to her in the end. But there was a whole thing today about, like, should she have the green? And the answer is yes. Del Rey did not mess this up. This is the lightsaber that she uses in the, like, most crucial, critical parts of the book. But, whew, I was, like, today, like, trying to remember, what color is her lightsaber? I've only read the books, like, 10 times. Oh my gosh.
Great.
And then finally, I would consider the biggest news out of the Essential Legends Collection's news today, not the fact that we were getting the Rogue Squadron book. It's a no-brainer, absolute no-brainer. Freddie and I, in fact, put it in our Essential Legends starter pack. Rogue Squadron by Michael Stackpole.
I love this cover.
Is getting an Essential Legends Collection treatment. We already knew this. This was leaked months ago. We knew that these were going to be the books in the next wave. That's not a surprise. The covers are a surprise. What else is a surprise, Freddie? What else is happening with Rogue Squadron? There's two things here.
Well, let's see. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I'm just, I can't stop looking at this cover right now. I want to talk about it so badly.
I just wish that it was Corey Helton's face under that helmet. Because it's supposed to be Corin Horn, right? I mean, it's gotta be.
That's the only thing that would make it better.
So so I know exactly what it is now. It just took me some time to recalibrate, but we've got the audio book.
That's right.
Yes.
For the first time ever, an unabridged audiobook of Rogue Squadron.
This is
Freddie,
great.
I've read this more times than I can freaking count.
Oh yeah.
And I will listen to that audiobook in its entirety. I will press play as soon as it lands, as soon as I get it. And I will not stop until it's over. And as soon as it's done, I will play it again.
This is going to be like my melted copy of Fight Club.
Yes. That's awesome. All right. I've got some observations on this. Now, I do want to say the audiobook this time is being done by Mark Thompson. Mark Thompson, I'm excited about that. I'm glad. Hey, love Mark Thompson reading a Legends book. I'm excited about this for a few reasons. Now, there is one other thing you might notice on the cover here, Freddie. Did you notice what series this is titled? The word X-Wing is nowhere on this cover.
Interesting. Book 1
There
of
are
the
4
Rogue
X-Wings
Squadron
on the
series.
cover. Yeah, but it's part of the Rogue Squadron series. Now,
Book 1.
this is interesting because the X-Wing series has 10 books, but it's split up. First 4 are Rogue Squadron, next 3 are Wraith Squadron, and then a couple other random X-Wing books after that.
It's like 10, right?
What do you think is happening here, Freddie? You think we're just going to get Rogue Squadron, the first 4?
No.
You think they're going to go with Wraith?
Yeah, they're gonna go all 10.
All 10? I love the way Freddie thinks. This is why we do this show together. All right, one more thing about this. Emma, let me ask you this. All right.
Yeah.
This cover is my least favorite out of the bunch, but I will say if you put this up next, like you can imagine having 10 of these with similar covers, right? If they go with a similar style, like you think about the Alphabet Squadron covers, these bright colors, a couple faces, a couple ships. What if they do a different head and then different ships for each book in the series in like a different big bold color?
Ooh.
I mean,
okay, that sounds amazing.
Cool, doesn't it? All right, that's my dream.
I like it.
Freddie, who would you like to see as some other heads for this series? Who else should make a cover appearance? We're gonna assume this is Corin Horn.
You know, I'd like to see. Yeah, this is definitely. It kind of looks like Wedge. Maybe not.
Yeah, it could be Wedge. I mean, it's hard to see.
I'd like to see. Who's our buddy? I forget his name. The Twi'lek.
Noir Event.
Noir Event. I'd love to see him.
I need me some brain tails up close and personal on a Legends cover. That would be great. I'd like to see Piggy Vort from the what's he called? That species, the Gamorrean pilot from the Wraith series. I'd like to see one of the ladies represented. You could have Mirax. You could have Booster Tarek in his big red Star Destroyer. That'd be
so cool, man.
So these are great. Emma, let me ask you, out of all of these, I don't know if I got the other artists credited here, but Tracy Ching did the art for the Thrawn trilogy books, and then this one is the artist's name is Dolly. Looking forward to seeing what you got next, Dolly. All right. Emma, out of all of these 4 covers, which is your favorite?
Man, I gotta say the Rogue Squadron cover. Something about it.
It's minimalist.
It reminds me of the Alphabet Squadron trilogy ones with the bold color, but featuring one pilot. I know, I really like that. And just generally, I'm most excited for the Rogue Squadron book because I've never read Rogue Squadron, and it's not on my shelf yet. That was one of the ones I was going to look into getting because, I loved Alphabet Squadron so much. So now I have the perfect reason to get it, and I'm really excited.
Absolutely. Definitely. Freddie, got a favorite?
I mean, this X-Wing, for sure. I'm going to pick up that one.
Both of you gave that your favorite? It was my least favorite of the group. Wow.
Yeah, I love that
interesting.
book. It's one of my first ones that I remember reading. But I mean that I have to collect. I've got Heir to the Empire sitting in front of me. I need to get the rest. I need them all. I need the series.
Wow. Yeah, I'm excited about the whole series. I'm not sure I love the face that Luke is making on the cover of The Last Command. I'm not totally sure about the face that he's making there, but definitely like Mara Jade on the cover. Glad she's represented. I mean, she's like the star of that trilogy, if not the whole book.
Yeah.
So would definitely like to see her represented, and glad that she is on there. Now, we've got some other Legends news outside of the Essential Legends collections. Please, everybody, if you are with us live or even, of course, watching this later on YouTube or checking us out in the Discord, please let us know out of the covers which are your favorite. We'd love to dialogue with you about this. What are some other unabridged audiobooks that you would like? We'd love to hear about those as well. Now, we've got some other Legends news. Well, do we have a lot of Legends news tonight? Valence is going to have to wait. We've got a lot of Legends news. Emma, what else we got? We got the new Zalbar Black series available
look at
for
this thing.
pre-order with GameStop. I'm not sure if this is even still available. If it's too late, hey, I've tried, but I bought one, so you can make me an offer. All right, no. This is going to my collection. I'm hoping to build like a whole KOTOR shelf. Like I would love to have
cool.
just a whole shelf full of KOTOR collectibles. Surely one of these days they're gonna make like a re-release and like a collectible limited run version. I'm calling it right there. When it's the limited run KOTOR. Freddie, did you pre-order this? Are you a Zalbar fan?
I do like Zalbar. Knights of the Old Republic. Yeah, it's especially his long, what is like a claymore he's holding with one arm because he's a Wookiee. It's honestly
It is big. Yeah.
yeah, it's humongous. So I just can't wait to get it. It's still available, I think, on GameStop. So definitely pick it up if you're a fan of Knights of the Old Republic.
All right, Emma, you collect the Black Series, don't you? Did you get this one?
I do, and I have not. Mostly for budget reasons, partially because I haven't finished KOTOR yet. But
you got to
love
learn
it,
to
though.
Respect Zalbar. That's right. You got to finish the game before you can buy it. It's the criteria.
Yeah, he's in my squad now. And he's probably one of my favorites out of all the squad members. I think I've gotten to the point in the game where I have everybody unlocked as my squad member that you can possibly unlock, and he's
great.
really, really cool. I want more KOTOR Black series. It's really, really awesome.
Oh yeah, I want the whole squad. I want all the playable characters from the game, plus Revan and Malak. I'd love them all in the Black Series format. I'd also like Funko Pops,
who do
but
you
we
meet
just
first?
got those, so I don't need to beg.
The guy you meet first, he's kind of a meme, right? Like, was his name Karth?
Karth, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you mean
that one would
Karth
be
is
cool.
a meme? How is Karth a meme?
I don't know. Maybe he's a meme in my own head. Like, for some reason, I found him to be kind of funny. Probably because of, all the really deep conversations you have with him, just in the middle of fighting.
Yeah, I definitely benched Karth pretty quickly. You know who can get wrecked, though, who I don't want in the Black Series? Juhani. Do not like her.
Oh, I
She
agree.
creeps me out. All right. Now, we've got some more outside of this as well. Just when you thought, surely there can't be any more Legends news, there is. There is. All right. We got the Marvel Legends Epic Collections, the Old Republic Volume 4, which has been delayed a time or two, but it's supposed to come out July 6th. Freddie, we're going to do a roundtable on this one of these days, surely. I'm excited about this. Some of the Legends Epic Collections are hard to get after the fact. So, you got to pick them up on pre-order, don't you?
Yeah, you really do, or you're just going to pay quite the premium. But not just that, but most of the people that buy these books, they're not going to buy them to sell them. They're keeping these things. These are collectors editions. They're beautiful. They collect 10 plus comics or so.
Yeah, they're I think more than that. I had to look at the list exactly. They're really readable though. They're not just good for the shelf. They're a very readable format. Love to sit down on a Saturday afternoon with a cup of coffee, one of these. There was another one announced, but it's not technically a Legends Epic Collection. Did you see this, Freddie? It was just leaked this week, solicited to comics shops. This is for you specifically. We just did our Boba Fett episode.
So good.
The Boba Fett Blood Ties trade paperback was announced. This is weird, isn't it? Because it's not one of these like big hardcover omnibuy that they've been making. And it's not a Marvel Epic Collection. What is happening here?
It doesn't. It's almost it's kind of crazy. I'm not sure if it has to do anything with this new Boba Fett thing that they're entering this endeavor, just trying to come out with the most content they can, which is great. Do it. Give me as much as you can of Boba Fett, and especially Blood Ties. I mean, if you want to learn about who he is, and I can't wait, because if they take a lot of this and put this into the current canon of Boba Fett, which you got to let me know if that happens. It's going to be exciting to see Boba Fett fight at a young age and everything in his growth and how he became who he is.
The crazy thing is this thing is 336 pages, $34.99. Like, oh, that's great. All right. It's out in November. But there was some controversy online about why this thing is called Boba Fett Blood Ties. When it does collect... primarily, right? It's got Blood Ties 1 through 4, Blood Ties : Boba Fett is dead 1 through 4,
so good,
and then 6 other. What are you laughing? And then 6 other random Dark Horse Boba Fett one shots. So people are like, "Why is it called Blood Ties if it's not just Blood Ties?" And I'm like, "It's a fine name." Do you have an opinion on this, Freddie?
No, I mean I think it's fine. It kind of it highlights like the big portion of what you're going to be reading, and then some bonus content, right? Glass half full, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. It could have just been Blood Ties, but we got 6 more issues, so we ain't complaining. That's right. And there's more, a little bit more. We've got the last thing on the Legends Lookout rundown here. The Droids cartoon from the 80s was just recently added to the Disney Plus Vintage Collection, and I've started watching it. And, man, if that theme song doesn't sound like a Thin Lizzy hit, it is just an absolute blast from the past. Did you ever watch this thing, Freddie?
I did. So, a lot of people will bow their heads in silence or whatever, but when it came to Star Wars, my content that I watched were the Ewoks and Droids cartoon. I remember seeing that at a very early age. I'm talking like maybe 3 years old, because my parents were like, "Heck yeah, cartoons. It's keeping them quiet." Happened to be Star Wars.
That's awesome. I didn't watch these at all. I've watched like maybe some bad quality YouTube videos. My kids weren't loving it. They weren't loving it, but I'm kind of digging it more than I thought I would. So we're going to be talking about that next week. We're going to do a full rundown of all of the Disney Plus Vintage Collection. We're going to be joined by our buddy Charles, making his long-awaited Legends Look Back return, to chat some Tartakovsky Clone Wars with us. We're also going to talk about these goofy old 80s cartoons, so I'm looking forward to that. And then one other thing to keep on the lookout for, we're going to have a collection coming up soon on the site all about Valance, the bounty hunter who is going to steal the show for us at this point in the episode. Of course, Valance is one of these great heroes, anti-heroes, kind of, in the long tradition of Star Wars characters who, like, you can't keep a good man down. He dies, but then he's back, and then he just keeps on dying and coming back. And so we're going to talk about his legendary roots. Of course, has been recently reintroduced into the canon Marvel comics. We're going to be talking about the cyborg bounty hunter from the Legends Marvel days for the rest of the episode. And, of course, we're going to have a reading guide coming out soon on the site, so keep your eyes peeled for that. So before we get into that, we're going to run a merch ad featuring the Legends Look Back fanny pack that you can strap around your waists when you safely re-engage with society. And you can be prepared. You can stuff as many masks as you want to make yourself feel good as you re-engage hand sanitizers, or even, like, hey, rolled duck comic books, if that's what you're into. Not me. These are going on my shelf. So it's really fun that tonight we've got Emma joining us as our producer. Just so happened to work out this way. Because, Emma, you are representing the Cosmic Force, our recently launched, not so recently at this point, you guys are in the double digits on episodes now, which is cool, our comics podcast. And, Emma, I know for a fact that you're really caught up with all the canon Marvel comics, and so one of these characters, in fact, was originally introduced as a Legends character. So, Emma, let me ask you, when it comes to Valance, did you start with him in Legends or in canon? What do you think of this bad boy?
Yeah, I started with him in canon, and it actually wasn't from the Bounty Hunters comic that is running now. I actually first met him in Target Vader. I believe that was the comic, I think that was it. And I thought he was like a really interesting character. I did have this feeling based on like his style and his vibe that he came from something from Legends.
He feels like an 80s character, yeah.
Definitely, for sure. But yeah, he's an interesting character, and when I was reading some Legends comics with him in it for this episode, I was really interested to sort of read about the differences between him in Legends and in canon, because there's definitely some big differences, and there's a lot of similarities too.
Yeah, this is crazy for me that I didn't start with him in Legends. I didn't really know his Legends origins. I'm not as caught up on the old school Marvel stuff, not for lack of trying. But I will say I really enjoyed reading the Valance arc that we're going to be talking about tonight, that was captured in the Forever Crimson Forever. There's two different titles. It's confusing. Yeah, Forever Crimson. Crimson Forever is the title of issue 50, the big 50-issue extravaganza, which is like a plague. It's a sickness that almost kills Luke Skywalker, which I felt like really connected after what we went through this past year with COVID. So I was like, oh, great. I love virus plots. But this one was like also Indiana Jones, where Han and Chewie like go to the temple, and then they like mess up on the temple and thus release this virus on the whole galaxy, which was fun. But no, I didn't start with this in Legends either. I started with Valance in canon and saw the Legends internet blow up about the fact that they're going to do another Valance issue. They're going to go back and make Marvel 108 one last issue, to kind of a swan song for the original run. And I was like, fine, I'm not as excited as I would be if you like gave me Sword of the Jedi, but I finally got excited and had a chance to read this. How about you, Freddie? Did you start with him in canon or Legends?
Yeah, well, as you know, I probably only read maybe like 5 things in canon, including comic books in a book.
Oh, is that true?
So my Valance, I got exposed to Valance when I was it was probably like in middle school or so, when I decided to look at some of the old school Star Wars comics, the Marvel comics. And I remember just reading this guy and thinking, oh my goodness, this guy's so intense. And now thinking about it, like how crazy is it that it's such an obscure Legends character can make it back into canon, right? Like how beautiful.
Yeah,
is
he
that?
only had a handful of appearances in the original Marvel run, right?
Yeah, I think there's only like 5 comic books. It's like 16, 20 something, and there's not too many. And then there's a lot of, I believe there's a lot of short stories. One, where he's
a couple. A couple. So he's in issue. I've got this one here, issue 16, and then his story continues in 27 and 29. What happened in 28? I don't know. I have to check it out. But as of now, I have no idea. And then 50 is not a Valance issue, but you need to read 50 in order to read 108. For all the sense that makes, right? Valance isn't in 50, but you have to read 50 in order to read 108. Don't you just love Star Wars?
I do. It's so great.
Not confusing at all.
Of course. No, not at all. Right. It's like we're talking about a franchise that started with 4, 5, and 6, and then went back and did 1, 2, 3, and then 7, and then a different one that wasn't a number.
So it tracks, really.
It tracks.
Yeah, it really does. It's great. Of course, him only being in a handful of issues, what's fun is he kind of comes in at the tail end of the original Jackson story arc in 1978. The guys on Aduba 3, there's like 8 of them. It's kind of a Kurosawa throwback of an issue, and then Valance comes in and is like, I'm going to murder the bunny. Give me Luke Skywalker. And it's so great. It's so great. So for me, it started in, I got my first taste of Valance in canon, as did Emma, but Freddie's coming from the other side. I appreciate that we've got a shared perspective here. Let me ask you this, though, Freddie. Had you read the the trade paperback, this was released, early last year, right before the pandemic. Forever Crimson. Had you read this and 108 before this week's show?
I did, actually. I did. It's been a long time. I believe 2019. It was one of the books I remember seeing Valance, and I was like, wait, what is this? Valance? What is he doing here in 2019?
Yeah, I think that's right. Let me see.
The collection, I think there's like eight
that's right.
chapters or so. It's wonderful. I love it. And to this day, I still think that Cold Stone Steve Austin got his skull shirt from Valance's armor.
Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, that's a name I haven't heard. That's a name I have not heard in a long time. Oh, man. It's the most ubiquitous 90s guy ever. That's amazing. So that's fun that you got to read this back when it came out. I slept on it and was excited to bring this with me on vacation and really got into it. What was fun was like my little nieces and nephews, all 8 of them, like saw me reading a comic book and they gathered around and they were like, what do you have? And I was like, look, Valance is blowing off people's heads.
Oh my goodness.
So violent.
They're like, why? And I'm like, we don't know. And I'm like, he hates droids. And they're like, why? And I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, here, look at this panel. He's peeling his face off. And I'm like trying to hide it from the parrots. It was like a truly great vacation moment. I'll say that much.
He peels his face off so many times.
His Legends history is kind of crazy. The interesting thing here, Freddie, is if I'm correct, and I may not be. All right, so let me preface that. Don't yell at me in the YouTube comments, please. I mean, if you want to, I'll yell back. It'll be great. But if I've got this right, he's the first expanded universe bounty hunter.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, I think so. Now that I think about it,
Oh, wow.
let's see, 1978 is when he was first out, right? I believe so.
Yeah, right. This came out in
yeah.
October of 78, issue 16.
Yeah, so he's definitely one of the most intense. Of course we've got the canon at the time, which was Boba Fett, but EU character, I believe that he is one of the if not the first, he is at least maybe the second. He's like right up there.
Speaking of Boba Fett, we need to double check our timeline here because I know Boba Fett debuted before The Empire Strikes Back. Infamously, he was teased as an action figure.
Cartoon.
You could, and of course, we're going to talk about this next week, right, in the cartoon. Now, that came out in November of 78, right? The holiday special?
Yeah, it came out before. I know it came out before Empire Strikes Back, that for sure.
I think it was November of 78. I could be wrong. Could have been 79. It was in between, obviously, Star Wars and Empire. But if that came out in November and this came out in October,
yeah,
he still beats Boba Fett.
Oh my goodness.
If you think about it, I think Valance is the first bounty hunter, and what a good one he is. He can shoot lasers out of his palms, which totally catches Vader off guard in issue. What is that, 29, the duel with Vader?
Yeah.
That was actually voted in Star Wars Insider magazine number 83 as one of the top 20 best moments in the expanded universe. So love that. The crazy thing in that duel with Vader, of course, is he knocks Vader to his knees and catches his cape on fire. And you're like, oh, Vader's vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because before that, other than Tarkin kind of plays mom to him and tells him what's up. But besides that, nobody can really hurt Vader.
Can
right?
you believe that though? Getting Vader on his knees, that's some next level kind of combat.
I think the moment, and this is a little spoilery, so give me 10 seconds here if you want to duck out. A little spoilery if you want to go and read Forever Crimson, would definitely recommend it. Spoiler for a 40-year-old comic here, 40 years old. Freddie, the moment when he tries to drag Vader down into the pink toxic lava, and it's pink because they couldn't get the colors right. They said it's crimson, it's blood red, but it's totally just pink in the comic book. Which is cool to have a pink lava planet. When he tries to drag Vader down into the lava, and then Vader cuts his freaking cyborg hand off and lets him drop down into the lava, and he walks away with Valance's cyborg hand still clutched to his foot.
Yeah.
That for me was one of the best Legends comics things I've ever read. I was astounded. So cool.
It's not just that, but the reason why he did it is even better.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so at that point, when we first meet Valance, he just hates droids. I don't know if you want to hit that one first, and we can go down the tree.
So let's get to that. He hates droids, but like, there's no explanation given, at least in his first introduction, on why he hates droids. What was your, like, if you can go back in time here? All right, you just read this recently for the first time, Emma. Let's start with you. If you could go back and kind of put yourself in the shoes of what you were thinking when you are first reading about Legends Valance in issue 16, why did you think he hated droids?
Honestly, because of my Canon experience, I knew it was probably because he was his cyborg issues. But sort of putting that out of my mind, I honestly
That's
just
hard,
thought maybe
one
had sort of wronged him, maybe in a way, which I guess was kind of the case in a way. The droid surgeon couldn't really save his skin, I guess. So that's kind of the case. It kind of reminded me of Din Djarin in The Mandalorian. Like, he hates droids, but we don't really know at first. So that was kind of an interesting sort of mirror there.
Yeah,
and it seems that in The Mandalorian, the reason is because of the Clone Wars.
Right.
But at this point in time, the Clone Wars exist. They're mentioned in A New Hope, but we don't know that they involve an army of droids. We don't know that. That's not part of the pitch. So you kind of have to take that off the table. Freddie, what was your speculation? If you could put yourself back in time, trying to figure out what's going on inside Valance's head, why does he hate droids?
I'll never forget, honestly, the first thing I remember, and it sticks with me to this day, that I feel like that's still the reason of why he hates them. So the reason I think he hates droids, or at least what I thought about that at the time, was, he stresses so much how droids take the menial jobs of people. Like, people could have had these jobs. And we all know there's a lot of suffering in the galaxy, right? There's outworld suffering. So personally, I thought that maybe in his past, this is my fan theory, is maybe in his past, either his dad was killed by a droid, or took that his dad's job, and he was homeless, and
I love the theory that it's like a metaphor for foreign outsourcing.
Yeah, that's how I always used to think about it, was outsourcing. And so part of me was wondering, like, oh goodness, is this, is he just have such a prejudice against them because of...
He does say that, though.
He does, and so that's what I always
kind
of
thought. He makes a comment
like,
you're taking a job from a perfectly good human.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So part of me was thinking about it that way, because back then, I didn't honestly really think about droids in the Clone Wars. It wasn't really something that was in my mind. So, and I believe later on they do say something about the Clone Wars, or his time in the Clone Wars. And,
yeah, they do eventually mention it, right? Yeah. One of the things that is kind of crazy is when you finally get the reveal, when he peels his flesh down off of his eye, and you see the metal skin underneath, like the Terminator, which this does predate the Terminator.
Yeah.
It predates Cable from the X-Men, who he looks exactly like. But it doesn't, however, predate the Punisher. The Punisher does come out before this. He does a lot like the Punisher, but Punisher's not a cyborg, so Valance has got a one-up on him there. When he does finally make that reveal that it's like, oh, maybe this is all about his own self-loathing, this just got a lot darker for a kid's comic, which it does read as much more juvenile than like some of the current Marvel run. It's like, wow, is his whole issue that he's got self-loathing? And then that's explored in a really interesting way when finally he has this confrontation in issue 29 with Luke and C-3PO. And it's really C-3PO, more than Luke, who's the one that kind of turns Valance. You want to talk about that, Freddie? What changes in Valance? Why does he turn and have a change of opinion and spare Luke Skywalker?
It's the classic sacrificial moment in a lot of lore, right? The sacrifice of the thing that the person hates weighs so much on them. They're just like, wait, you're not supposed to, as a droid, you're not supposed to stand in front of Luke, to try to stop from Luke dying, from whatever Valance is going to do. And Valance is completely surprised that C-3PO is sacrificing himself for that thing, and it kind of just changes everything. And he realizes, wait, that's his moment of, I don't think everything is as I thought, right?
Yeah. It's like C-3PO demonstrates that he can do something as human as to sacrifice oneself for someone he cares about, and like that humanity that he saw within the droid my understanding is he realizes that if a full droid can have that much humanity, then there is something salvageable within his self, right? That he can still have a salvageable amount of humanity, even if all of the flesh is torn from his skeleton, which it eventually is because of the pink lava lake. Spoiler alert. Of course, he sees something in C-3PO, but then there's like this kind of mixed motivation, right? Where he also like kind of loves Luke after this.
Yeah.
Because Luke doesn't... Eventually, his vendetta is against Luke for hanging out with droids. He's like, not because he blew up the Death Star, but he's like, you droid lover. There's actually a panel. I love this. Page 27 of Forever Crimson. And then that's when I'll destroy you, droid lover. It's such a great line.
Yeah,
but eventually, he loves Luke for the fact that he he shows compassion to Valance. Like he loves C-3PO for like being the most human droid ever, but then he loves Luke for showing compassion. Is that about it, Freddie?
Yeah, that's about it, and he goes so far as to hide, and that's the thing, right? Is really nobody knows who Luke Skywalker is. They don't know his name. They know who he is. They know this character, but they don't know his name. So they're trying to find any source. Late Vader's trying to find it. Valance is trying to find it. But they're all trying to find it for a different reason, right? Vader's trying to find it because he wants to find Luke and either turn him to the dark side or kill him. And Valance is like, you know what? I fought with that guy. That guy's pretty cool. And you know what? I'm going to stall it as long as I can and make sure that Luke does not get discovered. And he does his job.
Right. Now, and that issue comes when he is chasing after the rebel, whistleblower, Tyler?
Tyler Lucian.
Just such
the
a
least
good
Star Wars
Legends
name ever.
All right. Now, I've got an issue with this, Emma. When people complain about a name like Kyle, isn't there what's the guy in the High Republic? What's his name? Kevin. Like, people complain, like, that's not a very Star Wars name. The main protagonist of the series is named Luke.
It's true.
Like,
That's
we
true.
get used to that, but it's like it's a biblical name. So, Tyler, not biblical, so it sucks. Yeah. Luke, however, is good. Okay. Now, Emma, in reading this for the first time, you just were reintroduced to it. Did Valance's turn make sense to you? That he would spare Luke because C-3PO, was more human than he should have been? What was your take on the big turning point for Valance?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was pretty surprised that he spared Luke. He seemed very convinced that he should just, kill him or capture him, or I'm not 100% sure what his end goal was there, but he seemed to have a change of heart pretty quickly. But based on my knowledge from the Canon comics, it did kind of make sense that the Canon comics really show the more human nature of him and some of his past relationships, and so it kind of made sense for me to read about this softer side of Valance, even though it is in Legends, but I was still surprised nonetheless. Yeah.
Yeah, it does show a softer side. On the one hand, he's like more of a one-note character. On the other hand, it does kind of expand his backstory if you've been reading him in canon. What I do love, though, is that canon does realize, when they're reintroducing the character, that like he does need more backstory, and so that's where you get the Han Solo Imperial Cadet coming in, showing him as a cadet alongside Han Solo, which I totally missed when I first read Han Solo Imperial Cadet.
I missed it too. Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad it wasn't just me. I was like, well, I'm a dummy. And then, of course, you get more backstory for him in Target Vader, which especially leans into his tragic kind of anti-hero past. He's got like a wife and a family. Maybe I need to go back and reread it, honestly. And then, of course, now he is headlining his own series in Bounty Hunters, in which case he's like frenemies with Dengar, which is a lot of fun. And Chewie strangles him, but spares him, which is just so great. I love it when Chewie is about to rip a guy's head off. That's always fun. It's you get him, Chewie.
He throws a monster alien or something in this book too. He just throwing people everywhere, or in this comic.
Oh, Chewie does?
Yeah.
Oh, I have to double check that. That's cool.
Chewie sometimes reminds me of that tiny dog that thinks they're so tough and barks at the intruders or whatever. Sometimes he can remind me of that.
Definitely. Yeah. Now, let me ask you this, Emma. This isn't in the notes, so going on the spot here. What do you think is the most important thing that Canon has added to Valance's story? How has it expanded the character? In what way do you think has really made this character endure beyond his original appearances in these original Marvel issues?
Yeah, I think like I was touching on a little earlier, just building on his personal relationships to make us see the more human side of him is really what helped the most. We didn't get to see that in Legends, that side of him. In the first few issues of the Bounty Hunters series, we get to see that he kind of had a love interest before he went off to join the Empire. And that to me was like, wow, okay, this guy really does have a heart. He's not just... He doesn't have like a heart of metal, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And also just seeing his beginnings in the Imperial Academy, how he, really appreciates the fact that Han was the one to save him from the wreckage. I think was another really cool addition, because we do see those two sort of going up against each other quite a bit in both Legends and Canon, and it was cool to see their origins.
Yeah, definitely. I love the relationship he has with Vader. I love the way that it expands that, because this anchors it. Like their duel on the catwalk. If you're ever on a catwalk in Star Wars and it has no rails, get out of there, my friend. But in this, they're dueling over a lake. They're like, it's not an abyss. It's not a massive canyon. We'll be all right. Valance and Vader, say that 5 times fast, they duel over the lava lake, and as such, that kind of anchors his rivalry with Vader that's really explored in greater detail in canon. I like seeing where that goes in greater depth in the current continuity. Now, we're going to go with the Valance lightning round here. There's quite a few little details we're going to touch on before we call it quits for tonight. Now, from Jason Fry, did you get this one, Freddie? I didn't know this. I've never seen this movie. The name of Valance, of course, is based off of the John Ford movie, the Western, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. But then when Jason Fry was writing the short story, The Hunt for Valance, or something like that, I could have the name wrong, he gave him the first name, which I would consider in the grand tradition of dorky Star Wars first names, alongside Sheev and Gael for Akbar, or Gale. The bit they did on Star Wars Archives. Jason Fry named him Beilert. Is there a worse first name in all of Star Wars?
Yeah, it's so funny too, because I really like where the name stems from. It's a John Wayne film, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, right? And they went with Liberty, and they just scrambled the letters up and came with, that's the one, Beilert.
Right. So that at least gives some appreciation for why. But also, like, Jason Fry had no idea when he was writing that short story that he would live on to headline multiple canon comics. Yeah. So it's not all his fault.
Beilert sounds vaguely French to me, and I don't know why.
Beilert, yeah, with a croissant. Apologies to our French listeners.
Yes.
Deeply apologetic for that one. A little bit. I also like croissants. Okay. Now, Freddie, do you think Valance is more Punisher, Terminator, or Cable?
Oh man,
he predates 2 of the 3.
He does. I almost feel like when I first saw his metallic, what is it? It's not an exoskeleton, endoskeleton. Come on, Corey, help me out here.
His innards.
Tell us about cyborg physiology, Corey, please.
Exactly, like Emma said, his cyborg innards. He very much looks like a Terminator-esque robot. He's got just that like skull, and I mean, he looks very human in cyborg, right? I mean, that's what he's supposed to be, and that's exactly what they drew, and it's almost shockingly Terminator to me.
It is shockingly, yeah. I like the way you said that. It really is like, wait, why is Terminator in this? If you're not careful, on the cover of 16, he looks just like the Punisher.
Yeah,
but then when he really like rips his face off and has the glowing eye thing, he looks just like Cable and has like the one exposed metal arm. But Cable, his thing is he's a time traveler and also a school teacher. So I'd like to see Valance do those 2 things. I'd love to see the comic where he's a time traveling school teacher. That would be great. That's going to be awesome. Now, Emma, let me ask you this. Out of Valance's powers, which do you think is his best power? His palm lasers, his indestructibility, or his self-loathing?
Oh, wow. Well, that's an interesting grouping of powers right there.
I mean, does he have more?
Oh, wow. Let's see. His palm lasers, I think, because they remind me of Iron Man. He's like, "Pachow." On a side note, a small side note, I've been rewatching all the MCU movies with my sister, and we just got through the first 2 Iron Man movies. So when I was reading through this issue today where he uses his palm lasers, I couldn't stop thinking of Iron Man.
Da, 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 da. Yeah, he's definitely Iron Man. He does not predate Iron Man, does he? I think that's another 70s character. They're probably contemporaries. He could have been a 60s character. Yeah, maybe Iron Man takes the cake on that one. How about you, Freddie? What's his best power? I'm leaning toward his self-loathing. Like, his motivation is what makes him such a great bounty hunter. I love the panel. Did you notice this, Freddie, when he finally goes and checks in with the guy who's commissioned him to hunt Luke Skywalker, and he gets his payment? Or maybe it's after Jackson. Anyway, the first time he goes and gets his payment for hunting bounties, his payment is not money. It's a handful of droids for him to explode.
Yep. That
He's
was
like,
his
all
payment.
right, pay up. All right, we got 3 droids for you. Blam! They're gone.
Boom.
He's like, that was nice.
Well, I guess he's a
like
cyborg. He doesn't need credits to eat, right?
that. I
don't know.
died. I absolutely died. Like, almost woke up my 3-year-old from her nap. Died laughing.
It
What's
was
his
pretty
best power
hilarious.
for you, Freddie?
Yeah, that was a good one. You know, I love his palm laser. It's not my most favorite part. So the palm laser is amazing. It's like a phalanx of just electrons flowing out of his hand in like a burst. It's wild. It's like the most intense thing I've ever seen. And his indestructibility is cool. I like it, but I think it's not just his self-loathing. It's his motivation, whether it's for the wrong or the right thing. His motivation is he's so steel-willed that he will do whatever it takes to do whatever it takes to do whatever it takes.
I think it's that motivation that brings him up out of the lava lake. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, it's like the scrappers that find his endoskeleton, if that's what we're calling it. And, eventually his system reboots, and he's like, all right, droids, boom, they're out of here. But I really do love the palm lasers. Hey, they catch Vader off guard, which are pretty awesome, too. Now, Freddie, let me ask you this. How does he stack up against the other, like the original, the OG bounty hunters, against like Bosk and Dengar and Zuckuss? If you were to rank him among those, 7, 8 bounty hunters, where does he line up in the list?
They said right in the comic that even Boba Fett himself would shake in fear if they heard or saw Valance. And to me, just the fact that he took Vader down to his knees, I don't honestly think any other bounty hunter could do the same thing. With just like two weapons, his body and his laser hand. That's all it took. They didn't have to do any tricks, anything. It was just like pure strength and determination.
I need to go back and find that comment where they say that about Boba Fett.
I remember him saying that, yeah. And I was like, wow, Boba Fett's afraid of him. That's big, yeah.
I'll believe it when I see it. So if they mention Boba Fett it depends on what issue. So I guess it doesn't have to be in the first one. It doesn't mean that Boba Fett predated him. All right, we're getting in the weeds here. What do you think, Emma? How does he stack up against like IG-88 and Bosk and Zuckuss? I think I would put him probably just a little lower than the other 8, the other 7.
I have
just
to
because
agree
they've
with
got
you.
so much history, but maybe above like Zuckuss or Forlom. Maybe not against the combo, but maybe over 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have to put Boba, IG-88, maybe Bosk, and just those 3. I think above him, and then maybe at his level or a little lower are the rest of the bounty hunters. I would say
It's like right on the same
I'm
level
terrified.
with Dengar.
Yeah, probably with Dengar too. Yeah, I mean, IG-88 terrifies me. Boba Fett, he's got way too many weapons and tools and just brains to be outsmarted by Valance. And Bosk, I mean, I'm just going off of his powers of Battlefront 2, but I think he's pretty strong.
Yeah, I agree. He's pretty strong. And
Yeah.
I think he's, your list, 100%. I like that list. Boba Fett is always number 1 for me, and Jango Fett is 1.5. And I think he's definitely above Diaperhead, though.
Yeah, I don't not as big as Dengar fan. What's fun is that he teams up with Dengar in the Bounty Hunters run. So he and Dengar have I called them frenemies. They have a love-hate relationship. Like they're always dissing on each other. It's kind of like the odd, like the married couple, which is a fun dynamic.
It's pretty entertaining,
because especially if we rank them as like equal bounty hunters. It's a good pair to put together. Now, Freddie, one of the episodes we're planning on Legends Look Back as a prospective idea is to do the tough guys of Legends, like the potential Chuck Norrises of Legends, and he stacks up against like Dash Rendar, Kyle Katarn.
Yeah.
How do you think he stacks up against some of the other tough guys in Legends?
Well, I mean, if there's one thing that Legends is really good at is the tough guy thing, because I mean, we're thinking, political correctness aside, this is the 70s and the 80s where tough guy, like machismo was a big
meme.
thing.
Yeah, it's
a
definitely
thing, right? We've got Rambo, Terminator, just all of that stuff, and they had, I mean, Dash Rendar was a tough guy, and even in this, in some aspects, Luke was a tough guy. I mean, he was so overpowered in so many different things. Would you count Druis Sabaoth as a tough guy?
I mean, he's like not cut from the same cloth like the
Yeah.
80s action hero that the others are.
He's got the abs of him, though.
I was gonna say, based on the abs, I would have to say yes.
He does. You've got me there. All right, I've been proven wrong. That's good. Yeah, we'll have to fill out that list a little more. If my list is 3 people, yours is 4, but one of them is like a crusty old Jedi Master. Yeah, we'll work on it. We'll do it. Now, Domina Tag, who's also in this series, she's the one who's kind of the mastermind behind the Crimson Forever virus. She is also reintroduced into canon in the Dr. Aphra comics, and so it's fun that they've got 2 of the characters from the same story arc, both reintroduced in the canon Marvel comics. And I wonder what other character from obscure Legends history, like it's got to be a character on the same level as Domina Tag or Valance. You can't say Mara Jade, right? Anybody but Mara Jade, basically, or like the Solo twins. Who would you like to see reintroduced into canon? Maybe of the same level of obscurity as these 2. Do you have an opinion on this?
Oh, this is tough, man. There's a lot of characters that I'd like to see.
I'd kind of like to see HK-47. He's like,
oh
Yeah, that's a good
I
pick.
think just obscure enough to fit. Like, and you can just stick him anywhere in canon. Like, he's just a murder droid.
Yeah, HK-47 for sure. Especially, I mean, guys, I'm sorry, get your toothpick holders out. I think that's what Disney calls them. But in Star Wars Galaxies, when you have to fight HK-47, he's like the most difficult thing that I've ever fought in my life. So I'd like to see HK-47 recanonized, and I don't know if I'd want to see too much difference, honestly.
Yeah, just as long as he calls people meatbags, that's all you need. That's like the one. That's like the one thing in the formula. How about you, Emma? You have an opinion on this?
Yeah, so I mean, I haven't read a ton of Legends, but I think I'm going to bring something up from Shadows of the Empire while it's still fresh in the mind.
Okay, cool. All right.
I would love to see a modern Guri, I think. She was a really interesting character, and I'd like to see more of her for sure.
Yeah, you could have like another cyborg who finds their humanity. Maybe Valance could have a significant cyborg other.
Yeah.
I like it.
He deserves it.
Valance and Guri, the OTP of Legends Look Back. Amazing. Well, it's been a ton of fun. Thank you, Emma, for helping us out this week. It's been great to have you. What a perfect topic to have you here for. Next episode, as we mentioned, we're going to do the Disney Plus Vintage Collection, ranked and reviewed. So, F's in the chat for all of the binging of Ewoks and droids that Freddie and I are going to do over the next week, getting ready for that. And then the next roundtable, Freddie, I know you've been diving into this. You've been digging it. Tell the folks what they should be reading to get ready for our next big breakdown.
I just can't believe I slept on it for so long. I'm loving it. The audiobook is fantastic. We're going to be talking about Shatterpoints.
That's right, with all of Mace Windu's naked brutality. Man, is he
Don't
naked
tell me he's naked in this
so
book,
much.
too.
There he is. Yep, that's
Are you
right.
serious?
Yeah,
I could
he
tell
is.
you were
He's
joking.
naked. Nope,
No.
he is.
Oh, my God.
There's a whole naked fight scene
Yep.
in the shower.
Oh, no.
Early. It's very early in the book. You don't have to read the whole thing to get to it.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
goodness.
happens
We have a
early.
new meme.
Yep.
We do. That's right. Absolutely. And you want to be in on it, so that's coming up soon on Legends Look Back. That does it for this week. Thank you for joining us, to everybody here with us in the chat. I've loved having you with us. Really been popping off tonight. Thanks, of course, to our incredible patrons for all of your support. Hey, we love making the show. and we are glad that you are along for the ride. Special thank you, of course, to our high rulers, Cheryl Bell, Patrick Ortiz, Carl Sander on our Jedi High Council, Elizabeth Cloutier, Jason Mitchell, Sally and Chris Eilerson, and your boy, Freddie C. on our Alliance High Command. Thank you for your amazing support. Hey, if you'd like your thoughts read on the show, you can email us. I should probably check that email sometime. legendslookback@utini.com, or send us a message in the Legends Look Back Discord channel. You can leave a comment on this episode on YouTube, or you can find us on Twitter. I'm at Jared Q. Mace, Freddie,
At Wake Up Freddy.
and Emma.
At Irma Jedi 26.
Good job. That's right. And if you're looking to buy some of these books, such as Crimson Forever, you don't have to buy it randomly in a comic book store. When you see it on the shelf like I did, you can get it right now by checking out the link on utini.com. You can click on the Amazon link in the profile, and hey, we'll get a few cents to help keep the lights on. If you liked it, you've got comments, you got thoughts, leave us a listener review. We would love to know what you think, and you can leave that review right there on the site. Remember, everybody, while Freddy changes hats into his Shadows of the Empire reversible collectible. Careful with that thing, Freddy. Don't get it sweaty. Don't get it sweaty, Freddy. Remember, everybody, until next week, keep the Utini fan code and be a force for positivity in the fandom. May the force be with you.
This is a Utini broadcast.